The cat who named herself. A cat makes a house a home. Once that cat is missing from the home, that space seems to lose its soul, leaving a very hollow house. Nobody knew this better than the ancient Egyptians. If a noble Egyptian's cat died, the cat was wrapped in linen, lamented over, and had a very special burial. The cat of an Egyptian slave likely had an entombment equal to the cat of the slave's boss. Cats domesticated themselves and were worshipped in ancient times. They have never let us forget, I'd point. A quick glance can remind us that at any given time, we humans, fortunate enough to live among such greatness, should bow down and chant the "I'm not worthy" mantra. My friend Jenny called. It was July 30th, early in the morning. In a panic, she let me know that a box of kittens and a feral mama cat were dumped in her neighbor's yard in the prolific Hollywood Hills. She thought she had retrieved all 6 of them, but didn't know what she was going to do with all of these kittens in her spare room. Before she even finished the sentence, I said, "I'll take the mama cat, the rest will be easy." I'll take the mama cat? Who just said that? And then I was in my car driving over to meet her, and I called my mom and told her I was going to meet my new cat, Alexandria. Now, who just named my cat? There were a few hoops to jump through, like the weaning, adopting out of the baby, spaying, but by August 13th, that cat was in my home, under the bed, terrified. I was now living with a gray, allegedly feral cat whose eyes were bigger than her body and unusually kind. She had clearly been a child bride and wasn't even much older than her kittens. I knew part of Alexandria's being under the bed was grief. She'd just let go of 6 kittens. It was also shock as well. She'd just been through a surgery, yet so much love emanated from under the bed. I knew somebody had to be missing her. In fact, I felt guilty for having such love in my house. Surely someone wanted her back. But then I remembered with horror that somebody actually left her in a box on a coyote freeway. In no time, Alexandria reluctantly jumped onto the end of the bed each night after I was settled in, and then she must have felt who I was and realized it was safe to be all she could be, Wacky Cat. Wacky Cat became her nickname because she would give me such a crazy look and dart around the house. In fact, this not only became an activity generated from her end, it also became a command so that I could be entertained at will. Alexandria was a dog cat. She fetched. She had to see who was at the door. Really, I felt lucky to work for her. And in my real job, I worked from home as an animal communicator. She became part of meditating and animal communication. She literally would look at the picture of any animal I was doing healing work with, and I felt as though she helped with the transmission of healing love. When I taught my first animal communication workshop, she loved that she was the more advanced being to communicate. My horse was obviously the shallow beginning animal. I would let Alexandria outside for a couple hours a day. She had to be home, but by 6 p.m. That was the rule. Not 6:01, but 6. She was very prompt and often early. When I would come home and stroll through the courtyard, someone would yell, "Joan, she's in here." This dog cat had human friends throughout the community. Alexandria was my feline soulmate. We left Los Angeles and were off for an adventure that lasted nearly a decade and involved moving to Seattle, Denver, and Florida. And then back to Seattle. And along the way, there was a husband and stepkids, and then there was not a husband and stepkids. However, the dog we picked up along the way, Olivia, was a permanent installment. After the divorce and the loss of my mother, I moved to the Seattle area to a little farm of my dreams. The thought was to set up a place for classes and be close to my ailing father. Alexandria, Olivia, and the 2 horses settled in. The rules never changed about being in before dinner. She was in total compliance. Although Alexandria loved Olivia, she also loved to lord over her at the extent to which she was an advanced soul. One day, it was July 30th, I woke up to no cat on the bed, but there was a dead rat next to the bed. Alexandria was generous that way. As I made my way downstairs, I realized I was in the killing field. The front door was wide open and there was carnage all the way to the barn. The doors to the hayloft were wide open. It had been windy the night before, but this looked like there'd been a late night rumble between my cat and someone else. I started calling Alexandria madly. I was looking through every nook and cranny on the 5-acre farm. I headed down a trail looking for her. It was not a good day to lose a cat. There were farm chores, clients, and my dad had doctor's appointments. My heart sank. For days, I did everything I advised clients with lost animals to do. My search extended miles. I talked to neighbors. I set up traps and food stations, all of it. For years, I had reunited people with their animals. It hardly seemed fair that what I could do for others didn't help me find her. For days, I appeared to be 3 hours, 2 hours, half a day behind her. She was spotted until she was not. I continued to search even though there were no signs of her. I was heartbroken at the idea that somebody could have found her and that the 12 years I invested with her were just over, that Alexandria might be sitting in someone else's living room, or worse, that in a moment she was taken by a predator, bling and all. Back at the farm, Olivia and I were beyond bereft. After 2 months, we adopted a truly grieving feral dog named Isabella, who was mourning being lost and losing her family. And we grieved together for a while until we were finally bored, and eventually it was time to create the new nucleus of our family. As the years went by, I continued to look over in the direction of the field where Alexandria was last seen, as though in the full moon I could catch a glisten of her eye. 2 years later to the day, on July 30th, my friend Conleth called. "I caught this feral cat trying to catch my birds on the farm," she said. "I just trapped her, and my husband and I think it's your new barn cat. In fact, he's bringing her over." "I'll name her Francesca," I thought. Who thought that? Does a barn cat get such a fancy name? I wondered about her on the farm with all the predators and thought, I'll keep her inside just to acclimate her for a bit. When Francesca was dropped off, this gorgeous feral barn cat walked into the house with her tail up, funny and confident. She greeted Olivia as if she'd finally accepted her and hopped into the yellow chair that probably still had Alexandria's fur on it, but it was Alexandria's exclusive chair. Not so feral. And I had my suspicions. Could it be? Was it? Is this a reincarnation? A day or so later, I was sitting on a stool at the counter, typing away when Francesca hopped up on the stool next to me. She let me pet her. She rolled over on her back as Alexandria always did, letting me pet that tummy. And there seemed to be several little legs kicking away like little fighting cats in a bag. Days later, while on a conference call, the dogs went missing in the house. I went into the guest room to find Olivia and Isabella peering into the closet with tails wagging. I peeked in and discovered some little wet furry blobs. I counted. There were 6 babies. I quickly kitten-proofed a space for them, and the next thing you know, the dogs and I were helping the child bride raise her kittens. I found homes for 3 of them, and still to this day live with Francesca and the 3 offspring, Queen Latifah, Buster Keaton, and Henry, who at this very keystroke are 8 years old. And they are definitely spawn of Wacky Cat. I always say the crazy cat lady is the new 30, and that would be me. Is Francesca actually Alexandria reincarnated? It gives me great pleasure to believe it. Francesca loves to lean up against the framed picture of Alexandria. Beyond getting to move through the karma of this soul's introduction to me in nearly an identical way on the same date, and us having the opportunity to make different choices like keeping more than half the babies, I see so many other similarities daily, especially crazy-eyed, wacky cat sprints. And while it may be true, I also see Francesca's soul's beingness in this lifetime, and I don't hold her hostage to Alexandria's personality. I am happy to be a continuum companion to this soul in whatever form it turns up. A 2-year absence of a cat in my home felt like feline bankruptcy. It's just that Alexandria was such a big presence, and I couldn't replace her, but I didn't realize how empty my house was until I filled it with a cat and then cats. In a departure from their ancestors in Egypt, they live in the present and prefer the linens to sleep in and prayers to be said over them now, prior to their afterlife. And now my home has a deep and welcoming soul.